This is Dave Mustain of Megadeth here in the bowels of the London dungeon with the Headbangers Ball. Those of you with weak stomachs might want to change the channel. Never know, you might want to get closer to the TV. I'm here in London right now promoting our new single, No More Mr. Nice Guy. I thought I'd show you how I've decorated my house at home. Got some of my adult toys here, and I'm sure you'll find them all very interesting. First we have here the plague. I felt the plague many days when I woke up on tour before. Here we have the Tyburn. I've heard of Well Hung before, but this is ridiculous. And onward. It gets better, my friends. It gets a lot better. Boiling to death. Anybody in the mood for some soup? Right here we have hand torture. You don't know how many girls that get manicures that I know that I'd like to perform this on. Here we have beheading. Behold the beheaded. This is a Halifax gibbet. I thought it was a guillotine. It's probably Alice Cooper's. I want to show you a friend of mine over here. This is called the Little E's. This is what happens if you sell crack. That's what it feels like, too. Where to?
Dave Mustain from Megadeth, welcome back to MTV. We last met up with you at Donington in 1988. Much has been written about your ensuing problems, but could you tell us exactly what they were and how you managed to resolve them?
I think a lot of the problems that we had are now taken care of because we have a new management company, Lippman and Kahane, out of Los Angeles, and they've given us a lot of encouragement to get our personal problems straightened up and basically get our lifestyle straightened up. We've got a lot of potential, and we really weren't using it. And now we're back in full force, and we're ready to start performing again.
Mm-hmm. How do you think your new outlook on life will affect Megadeth as a band in the future?
I think it's definitely a positive outlook. I think that it's helped us in performance because now we understand one another and we're not in a haze anymore about what's going on around us. Before, everything was so negative that when something negative would happen, I was so used to it, I would just turn my head and look the other way. Now, I'm so used to things being positive and things going right that when something does happen that's negative, I'm on top of it and I try and get it rectified as soon as possible.
And can you reveal anything about the new Megadeth lineup?
Well, right now it's still myself playing guitar, writing, and singing. Dave Ellefson is playing bass and singing backups. The drummer that was on No More Mr. Nice Guy is playing with the band now permanently. We're going to have a press release and mention, the whole surrounding position, what he's done, what he's going to be doing, who he is, how long he's been playing, how he got in Megadeth. And we're currently looking for another guitar player. We have some people that potentially fit the bill, but we have to make sure that they're right because, they're going to walk into a job that's going to give them instant fame and fortune, and I don't want someone to get in and be egotistical like the last guitar player we had.
Is it going to be a case of Dave Mustain and 3 musicians, or is there going to be more emphasis on Megadeth as a band in the future?
Well, Megadeth is a band. I perform in Megadeth, and it's never been Megadeth featuring Dave Mustain. It was like that in the band I was in before, and that's precisely why I ventured off into my own. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I'm doing it in this band. This gives me the tools to explore the music that I want to do. They had said that the moniker for the movie was Shocker, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and then Alice Cooper had felt that I was the person that could best revitalize that song by redoing it and giving it the energy that it needed.
Was it actually a challenge to cover such a great song?
In a sense, because Megadeth songs have lead solos in them, and this song didn't, so I had to write a section that fit that format to allow a solo to be played in the song. Also, I did a little ad-libbing, like the part where it says I'm not hard to get along with, I'm impossible. I wanted to give it a little bit of a personal part because all of the cover songs that we've done before, I've rearranged a little bit of something just to make it, a little bit more personal for myself. And the lyrics were tight enough in the original version where I didn't want to mess with them, so where there was a blank spot, that's where I put something in.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Do you think the success of this single will break down more barriers for thrash and speed metal and turn more people onto it?
I think so, because the song itself was not necessarily a commercial, but a pop song from the 70s that was redone by a mega group from the 80s, and it's now giving a commercial mass audience exposure to people that are moviegoers and not necessarily heavy metal fans.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. Me, a nice guy. Yeah.
How did you get on working with producer Desmond Child on No More Mr. Nice Guy?
Well, it depends on how you consider getting on. If you take into consideration, I threw him out of the studio because he would come. He was a telephone producer. You know, he would come in and he'd say stuff and he'd go back to the phone, and that's not my idea of a producer. Started off, he was producing the thing by himself, and I said, look, this guy is not producing it by himself. I am doing a lot of work on this. I want co-production credits, and I got them because basically, you know, it was at a time and period in my life where I was, you know, still straightening out the wreckage from my past, and it was hard for me to cope with having someone else getting all this glory for not doing anything. And the version that's in the movie is his mix. The version on the single is my mix. Granted, if the people out in MTV land have 70mm projectors at home, they can hear his mix, but most people have cassettes and CD players or phonographs, and they're going to hear my mix. So obviously, I think that, you know, I heralded, you know, I won. I was vindictive as far as, like, you know, saying what I wanted and getting it across to the public. Shocker itself is veering away a little bit from the comic kind of gore. You know, I'm not going to say how the movie ends, but there's a twist to the end of it that kind of confused me a bit. Up until the part where they electrocute Horace Pinker, the character, which is, you know, I'm not giving that away, obviously, since all the pictures show him in an electric chair, and that's when they play our song. Up until then, it's really enticing and engrossing, and it's really interesting. After that, you have to really pay close attention because it gets real busy.
Now, moving on to the new revitalised Megadeth in 1990, what are your plans for recording and touring?
February 5th, we start pre-production. We've already done a demo tape to find a producer. It has all the material for the new album on it. February 5th, we start the pre-production with the producer. March 15th, we start the actual tracking. June 11th, we turn the record in. August, I'll be over here to do promo and press. And in September, we're going to have a tour over here called the Clash of the Titans. We're going to be touring here with a major LA band that's not necessarily similar to us, but in the same category.
Because, of course, you're based in LA at the moment. How has that been influencing you?
Well, frankly, I really don't have a base because touring is, you know, my first love. But since we've had this time off, LA's been where I've been. And I really don't like the scene in LA because most of the guys look like you know. And not that that's bad, you know, but I mean, it is bad if a guy looks like you. But, you know, I find it kind of hard to go out and meet people because you don't know whether you're walking up to a guy or a girl. You know, half the bands are pompous and they all suck. That, you know, and in order to find a real metal band, you either have to go to a punk gig, or, you know, I mean, you have to go completely incognito to like, you know, a major act and go listen to songs you hear on AM. You know.
What qualities will you be looking for in the producer of your next album?
Somebody's got the balls to stand up to me and say, I don't like that, Dave. Because most of these guys, as soon as they get in there, you know, they think they're the fifth member of the band, and they start trying to do stuff. I mean, on Peace Sells, the guy that started the record with me, I caught him playing guitar. I woke up one night, you know, we were working 20-hour days on that record. I woke up on the couch and I hear this squeaky, horrifying sound like somebody was like running over a cat, and I see him in there singing backgrounds to Black Friday, and I'm going like, what are you doing? You know, this is my song, you know, it's not, you're not going to be singing. You know, next thing you know, the guy's going to be walking out on stage with us with a broom playing air guitar. I want a producer that has constructive criticism, someone who's reputable enough that I'll take their advice, and someone that, you know, is audacious enough to be able to stand up and defy me and say, look, I think it should go this way, because once they start taking it into their own hands and making the decision without giving me the opportunity to confer with them and find out whether my way or their way is better. You know, obviously, if they don't give me a choice, it's going to be my way.
What does the new material that you've been demoing sound like?
It's a lot along the format of the first two records. It's not that it's faster or heavier, but it's more along the original Megadeth way. Instead of once we had the lineup change and the confusion started to set in.
Will your lyrics be changing direction more than your musical style?
Nothing has changed. It's definitely going back to our roots, and not that, you know, everybody says, oh, we're going back to our roots. You know, we never really left them. We just kind of got a bit diverted from where we were. We had a lot of things getting in between what we really wanted to do, contractual problems. We had a complete full-blown airhead for a manager, and this guy was contributing to our personal problems, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Very much so. And once we got ourselves straightened out, it was evident that with him around, you know, we could never be straight, and we had focused back on what had turned us on musically, and that was things that were more thrashier, more heavier, more along the Devil's Triad as far as chord progressions go. Things are a little bit more spookier, a little bit more less political, more physical, more mental, more personal.
And finally, have you got any final message for your fans out in Europe, something you'd like them to know?
Well, it was really hard for me to make a decision to keep playing music, and the only reason I did was because the Megadeth audience has helped me stay alive and given me the incentive to get my act together, which was really hard because I felt that the obligations I had, the pressure I've had, the press, all the rumors, all that kind of stuff, it had made it almost an impossible battle for me to come back, and that gave me kind of you know, it was an obligation. It was like a thrill for me to beat this. You know, I mean, it's hard for Dave Mustain to get turned on by things, you know, because I've done so much. And having this confrontation, this conflict, I had to beat the press. I had to beat all these rumors out. I had to beat these personal problems. It's over now. I'm back.